2022年冬季奥运会将于周五在北京正式揭开帷幕。美国国会两党议员近来接连发声，呼吁各界支持运动员的同时，也要关注中国的人权侵犯问题。众议院议长佩洛西星期四在一场听证会上对运动员的安全表示担忧。有关详情，下面就连线美国之音驻国会记者李逸华来带我们掌握。逸华，你好。
美国国会众议院议长佩洛西星期四上午呢出席了刚刚在前一个连线所提到的这个美国国会及行政当局中国委员会所召开的这场听证会。那么这场听证会的题目呢就是北京冬奥和这个受压迫的面孔，因此呢这个佩洛西呢是罕见的出席了这个听证会，也凸显了这个佩洛西议长呢对于中国人权问题的重视。那么事实上呢，佩洛西议长呢他除了这个参加了听证会之外呢，他几乎还是全程的待在了这个场听证会上来聆听这个其他的这个出席作证的证人的这个发言，因此呢看得出来他是相当的用心在这个议题上。那么同时呢也看得出来这个国会两党的目的呢，现在非常希望能够将这个北京冬季奥运会这个各界关注的焦点的同时呢，能够也同时将这个各界的这个目光也同时的也希望能够关注这个中国的人权侵犯的这种情况。那么佩洛西议长呢在星期四的听证会上呢，还再次的强调了国会两党呢会持续的为中国人权来采取行动来发声，同时呢，也希望能够让中国政府为他们人权侵犯的行为来承担责任。除此之外呢，佩洛西议长呢还首次的公开的这个提醒美国的运动员呢，不要为了不要冒险为人权来进行发声。那么他还谈到说呢，不要认为中国共产党政府会有任何一丝的善意，因为他强调说中国共产党是相当残酷，没有任何善意的。我们来听听佩洛西议长在稍早的听证会上怎么说。
Nathan remotely is my understanding. For decades, the PRC has orchestrated a campaign of terror and repression, from the genocide of the Uyghur people most recently to aggression against culture, religion, and language of Tibet, to crackdowns against the basic freedoms in Hong Kong, to jailing of journalists, activists, and dissidents throughout mainland China, and intimidation of Taiwan, and more. Yet the Chinese government works desperately to cover up their abuses, rewriting history and projecting a very different image to the world. I would say to our athletes, you're there to compete. Do not risk incurring the anger of the Chinese government because they are ruthless. I know there is a temptation on the part of some to speak out while they are there. I respect that, but I also worry about what the Chinese government might do to their reputations, to their families. And don't risk thinking that there are any good intentions on the part of the People's Republic of China government, because there are none. While you're competing, Congress continues to take bold bipartisan action to defend human rights in China and hold the Chinese government accountable. Most recently, the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, which was proudly signed into law in December, will harness America's economic might to make clear the genocide of Uyghurs must end now. And now, with our America Competes Act, which is on the floor of the House, we will take another strong step to help those who fear for their futures by designating Uyghurs as prioritized refugees of special humanitarian concern and pursuing a humanitarian pathway for Hong Kongers who feel political persecution. What I hear from our witnesses is further evidence of the courage of the people who are committed to freedom of expression and respect for human rights in China. What I see is the cowardice of the Chinese government, the cowardice of their actions, to take actions against family members because you are speaking out in other places, as some of you have mentioned. The cowardice of the business community, not to be able to have confidence in their ability to compete, but to fold to the Chinese government without speaking out. I will again thank all.
是佩洛西议长呢，在听证会上有力的发言之后呢，我们也有机会采访了这个佩洛西议长。那么他是再次向我们强调，他其实并不赞成这个北京来举办这一次的冬季奥运会。不过他也强调说呢，这个没有办法因此而惩罚运动员。那么他强调，因此他觉得说这个外交抵制是目前最好的做法。那么我们继续来听听佩洛西议长的说。
Matters have gotten worse in China. There should be the Olympics shouldn't be held there. But we can't hold that against the athletes. They have to go. They have to compete. They have to be excellent. But they have to be careful because the Chinese government, when they say you have to honor the Olympic spirit, it's ridiculous because the Chinese government does not honor the Olympic spirit. The government are cowards. They're afraid of people. They're afraid of their children, their families. Yes, they're cowards. They're afraid of the truth. We support them from home. We celebrate them. We cheer for them. We pray for them. And we want all of the athletes to do well, whatever country they represent. But we do not support the auspices of China.
除此之外呢，美国国会行政当局中国委员会的这个共同主席麦戈文众议员呢，他也在星期四的听证会上表示，将这个指责的矛头同时指向了国际奥委会以及这个企业的赞助商。那么他是强调说呢，他现在呢已经不再喝可口可乐了，因为他没有办法忍受这些总部设在美国的这些私人企业呢，毫无的这个完全的漠视中国的人权问题。听章。
一华，我们知道这是北京第2次举办奥运会了。那么这一次呢，拜登政府是选择了外交抵制，跟第1次形成了鲜明的对比。那这其实从一个侧面也反映出来，美中关系在时隔14年之后所发生的这样的一个巨大的变化。那么美国的国会议员怎么来看待现在北京和华盛顿之间这样的一个冰冷的局面呢？
是这个议题呢，也是我们这几天在国会山上呢持续的询问了几位议员的这个看法。那么两党议员呢，基本上是对于中国呢在这个过去将近20年来的这些行为呢感到相当的担忧。其实包括除了这个不只是人权的议题，在这个包括了在商业领域的知识产权窃取的问题，也是国会两党议员都相当的关注并且担心的。与此同时呢，在军事方面，这个在南中国海的军事行动，以及在台湾海峡这种咄咄逼人的一些军事的行为呢，也都令两党议员感到相当的担忧。因此呢，两党议员基本上是不认为这个两国的关系现在走到现在的局面是一个意外的这种情况。不过呢，两党议员强调说，外交抵制是他们所赞成的目前如何反制北京冬奥会的一个做法。因此呢，他们强调说他们会持续在美国来关注中国的人权，同时呢，也会为美国的选手来加油。我们继续来听听两党议员在接受我们采访时的说法。
We've always supported our Olympic athletes. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we agree with the politics of the country where the events are being held. And in this particular case, there's really a lot of concern about the Uyghur population, about what's going on right there. And so for many of us, one way is the protest that the government has already identified, which is to say our diplomats will not be there. And I think there's also a concern that a lot of people may very well simply not attend, even though they would have liked to, simply because they don't feel comfortable going to China at this time.
Frankly, I worry about their security, just as I would be worried about Japanese athletes' security as well. What I don't like about this is that we're handing a propaganda victory to the Chinese Communist Party. I've been an advocate of halting the Olympics and moving them to a different country. Japan demonstrated that a one-year halt is possible. I would have been in favor of doing the same thing and moving those Olympics to a different country. I'm concerned that the CCP is basically hijacking the International Olympic Committee and using this as a massive propaganda tool. If you think about the cover-up that they did with the COVID-19 pandemic, I think it's a disgrace. The fact that we would allow China a platform of this magnitude is a shock to me.
I think the Biden administration has taken the right approach with an official boycott, making it clear that the United States, is strongly and opposes the policies of the government of China, but we will root for our athletes. Well, I think since 2008, you've seen China take increasingly aggressive actions in the region, and clearly being more aggressive in terms of its policies around the world. So I think there is cause for alarm.
那我们知道呢，北京冬季奥运会呢即将在星期5登场。那么两党议员也告诉我们呢，随着这个比赛的展开呢，他们同时也会继续的发声，希望将焦点也聚焦在中国的人权问题上。以上是记者所掌握到的情况，时间交还给主持人平章。
好的，谢谢一华在国会的连线报道。